Did you always see yourself pursuing astrophysics and astronomy, or did your interest in STEM evolve as you got older?
Well, my parents somehow claim that I, on something in elementary school, or it might have even been in preschool. I was 6, so that might have been preschool. I don't know what. I think that sounds like preschool. I wrote something about being an astrophysicist. I think I might have even spelled it correctly too. Um, and I really loved astronomy as a kid, so I was very into, not to not to stereotype myself too much, but I was very into sci-fi. I loved reading science fiction. I loved reading popular science. So I loved reading Carl Sagan and things like that. And then I had a telescope, and I grew up in Minnesota where it was, cold but clear skies. So it was astronomy for a while, but I think the consistent field that I've loved throughout my life was math. So I was always, one of the reasons I love Mariah Mitchell's story is because I had that relationship with my dad. My dad, who's a lawyer, well, he's retired now, but was very into math. So my dad and I would always challenge each other and try to do math puzzles. And there was always a math puzzle or something published in a magazine every week that we were both trying to figure out. So I always grew up loving math. So math was always there. Pretty much every STEM field you could name captured my interest at some point. I thought I wanted to go into ecology. I really liked biology. I started college as a neuroscience major. So I love science in general, but I think it came back to astronomy in college because I realized that was one of the scientific fields where I could use math, where math and sort of the science walked closer hand in hand. So probably in college, it veered back to physics and astronomy because of that love of math.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. What you were saying at the beginning about living in Minnesota, that's so lucky that you were able to have the ability to see the night sky and to see the stars and stuff, because living in New York City, I mean, one time my friend has a rooftop and we were sleeping over, and you literally could not sleep on the rooftop because it was so bright at midnight. It was insane. So just having the ability to go out and it's all dark and you can see the stars is really, really cool. And I also like what you were saying about going back to astronomy and stuff in college and realizing that you really enjoyed math, but math and something else. Because I guess you could have had the opportunity to be something that was just math related, but the fact that you also wanted to get that science aspect.
Yeah, I think astronomy sort of hits that, fills that curiosity sort of benchmark, right? So I was interested in the topics of astronomy, but liked the application of math.
Do you have a specific moment when you were growing up or experience when you were growing up where you realized that you definitely wanted to pursue STEM and definitely were interested in maybe math or even in astronomy or something like that?
I don't know if I could think of a specific moment. I really, as far back as I can remember, and there's video evidence at family events that even when I was 4, I was talking about math problems. So apparently I was doing math. My dad, I guess, was maybe a little pushy, but before I could even remember doing math. So I think probably the puzzle solving and math, love for math, I just became a personality trait that I couldn't really pinpoint to a moment. But I would say a few high school classes, sort of I don't know what the kids are taking these days, whether AP biology or something like that is still a thing. I think I had an AP biology class that I really liked. I really liked the enthusiasm of the instructor. I really liked that he brought up not just, here's a cool thing to memorize about biology, but some open questions that people didn't know the answer to, right? Seems like there were some puzzles that needed people to solve them. So I think probably high school and then definitely college classes probably cemented the whole career in science. I think college especially taught me taught me that I really love to learn, which gave me a specific focus, maybe that I wanted to not just be a scientist, but stay in academia, stay in that sort of college setting and do a lot of teaching, which you never learn something as well as when you have to teach it.
Very accurate. And it's cool that your biology class was really important to you, because my biology class in ninth grade was actually had a really big impact on me getting interested in science even more than I already was. And we did some really cool things at the end of the year. It was sort of like mock medical school where we got patient profiles and we got to do experiments and find out what was wrong with our patients and things like that. Like I had never experienced anything like that, and I had never been exposed to anything like that. So it was definitely through my biology class that I sort of entered this whole other scientific area. So
that's the class that sticks with me when I think about it from high school. I had a really good chemistry class too. Weirdly enough, my worst high school science class, the one I didn't like because I think I just didn't jive well with the instructor who was teaching it, was my high school physics class. So, and I ended up, loving physics in college. So I guess sometimes there's kind of a commonality to STEM that you can get even in a different field.
yeah, it all sort of ties together and helps you decide on what you want to do. I was wondering if you had a mentor in STEM growing up or even now that you learned a lot from, and if you did, would you recommend that young girls get mentors and stick with them?
Yeah. I feel like I couldn't even think of one specifically. I've had many, I think. Currently, right, I think it's really easy, especially in academia, to find mentors everywhere. So, I consider some colleagues in my current department to be really good mentors to me. And at almost every university, you'll find some group that's associated with something like Women in Science. And so I'm in a Women in Science at Emory group where almost everyone I talk to in that group, peers or even people sort of on a career path a little bit ahead of mine, I consider a mentor. I mean, I really had mentors at every stage. In graduate school, my advisor was a mentor, but also some of my older peers and some other people in the department. My undergraduate and even high school teachers, I think, were all good mentors. I think science can be sort of, sometimes can be competitive and stressful, and it's important to find role models who have walked the path ahead of you a little bit, I think is what I find most useful in mentorship, who have gone through the sort of stages in my career that I'm going through, and also just to make you feel welcome and that you belong. So it's a lot of people have been that for me over the years.
That's good that you were able to have so many. I think that even just having one or two is really lucky for people. So the fact that you were just able to find them everywhere is great. I think I was lucky as well in that sense, where I've had a lot of people, especially teachers over the years, who have been advocates for me. And even if they're not necessarily in science, just people who I look up to and people who, look out for me. So I think we're both lucky in that respect.